Lamine who? Chelsea absolutely cook, roast, fire, burn, whatever you want to call it. Barcelona absolutely destroy them at the bridge. It truly was a miraculous and joyous evening to watch. Another Enzo Maresca masterclass. An incredible individual superstar making moment from Estevao at Stamford Bridge. A tap in from Delap. And just an all-round comically good and brutal dismantling of an elite team. I'm very much in the vibe and feeling at full time that I was back in July against PSG. Although this doesn't lead to a trophy and it is a league phase game and there are many more games, there's another massive game coming around the corner on Sunday for Chelsea. You cannot get away from the joy and the significance of a night like this. If you put it purely in a Champions League context, the historic relevance of Barcelona at the bridge, all of the history against them as a team, but also Chelsea returning to Champions League football for the first time in a while. And when that draw was made, this was one of those fixtures that you really looked at. But I said at the time that not only because of our recent history in bigger games and kind of faring a bit better in these kind of occasions, but this is why you're in the Champions League, because you want to go face-to-face, toe-to-toe, and try and batter in this occasion some of the best teams in European football, and what that can do for the spirit of the club. I think this is another massive step forward, because I think it shows that Chelsea are heading back to where we want them to be, where they are competitive, where they are regarded as one of the bigger teams and one of the biggest threats in European football. There's a long way to go domestically, but undeniably this was a huge 3 points, a huge performance by Enzo Maresca and his players, and you really want to savour as much of it as possible. It reminds me a little bit of Juve, almost identically at this time back in 2021 under Thomas Tuchel. You remember that resounding victory, just an absolute battering of an elite team. Real Madrid in the same year we won the Champions League. Barcelona, apart from the literally in the first exchanges of the game when Ferran Torres put the ball past the post, other than that, Barcelona did not come close to threatening Chelsea. That is as close as they got all night to threatening Robert Sanchez, and it's a sign of the tactical superiority, the individual and collective strength of the team. Some absolutely world-class performances across the whole team. There was not one player tonight that you looked at and thought they were under par, and just, a signal of what this team can achieve when they are at this level. I said this post-Spurs. I may have even said it post-Liverpool. I think Maresca as a coach and with this current group of Chelsea players, when Chelsea are able to get into this kind of game mode where they're able to be the counter-puncher, they're able to play against the high line where there's space in behind to try and attack, and be the aggressor off the ball, they become, I think, and have very much settled into a rhythm now where they feel very confident that they can dismantle anyone. You've beaten the champions of Europe over the course of the summer at ease. They've come up against the Barcelona team, who I think this is the first time they failed to score in a game in like 50 games or something. That's how mad it is. And Maresca made, I think, one particular bold choice, but I think it was understandable in his starting lineup. I mean, everything paid off tonight. And do not let the red card, the second yellow in the first half, make any difference in terms of where this game was heading. Chelsea were far the better, far the more dominant team even before that second yellow came out, because I think, for Chelsea, it was so clear that they were the superior team on and off the ball. They were, harrying, annoying, dismantling and making life awkward. You look at a talent like Lamine Yamal, who, I mean, he joins the Barca heritage at the bridge, really, other than his very last appearance, I think, for Barca at the bridge. Lionel Messi spent a lot of years at Stamford Bridge not having much joy, being bossed out of the game, being physically overwhelmed. And I felt that's what it was with another Marco Correa masterclass, really, where he can kind of just aggressively goes on a wide player and just completely shuts them out of the game. He wasn't the only one, but he was obviously zoned in tonight and putting in one of his best Chelsea performances. You go through the entirety of the team. I thought Enzo Fernandez, I know he didn't get on the score sheet. He could have got on the score sheet a couple of times. I thought he was just such a great leading presence. I've spoken about his influence, his creative influence on the ball, and how much of a difference he makes to this Chelsea team. It's so undeniable from game to game. the defence, I mean, Fofana, who, has come back from injury, him and Trev were exceptional. So was firstly Malo Gusto, who had to come off at half-time for an injury. Andre Santos comes on and takes up the slack as well. Reece James, obviously, in central midfield. Caicedo. Everyone really playing their part. And you've got Neto, Garnacho and Estevao as a front three going after and exploiting that comical Barca high line. I'm quite baffled, really, and Jules Kounde maybe always signed for Chelsea, of course, helping us go 1-0 up here. I wasn't surprised, because if you watch Barcelona, this is what they do, but when you see it in front of you and how dogmatic they are with that high line and how easy it was for Chelsea to get round them, I thought defensively they looked a complete shambles from start to finish, and what's bailed them out before is, Robert Lewandowski, Lamine Yamal, Ferran Torres, even Fermin Lopez, but that was not the case tonight because Chelsea had that really locked down. And I think what was exploited was the shallowness, really, of Barcelona. There wasn't anything to their game beyond that, because the high line was so easy for Chelsea to dismantle and get round. Everyone's going to be talking, rightly so, about Estevao. We spoke about him pre-game. We've spoken a lot about him this season. And it's almost like cinema. I mean, it is like something out of a film watching Estevao for Chelsea. I mean, if you think about him joining the hype of this star boy coming in and this generational talent of what he's going to produce for Chelsea, and you could, if you would have written it down on paper that in his first few months, he's going to score a big winner against Liverpool, a dramatic winner at the Bridge, and then score this insane goal against Barcelona, this individual goal of trickery, of wizardry, of, just absolute dominance at the Bridge under the lights against Barcelona in the Champions League. I mean, it is at points with Estevao so far, even though he's only been here about 4 months, how quick his star has risen and how quickly he's already assembling some great Chelsea moments, and he hasn't even started the majority of games. But without Cole Palmer, when you've got a talent like that, it just shows the capacity and the talent right there. And I felt that him starting tonight was huge because I felt that he would rise to the occasion, and he absolutely did. I think Enzo Maresca obviously deserves credit because, he doesn't start a centre forward. Eventually a centre forward does come off the bench in Liam Delap and finishes it off. I'm actually really happy for Liam Delap because, I think on Saturday I was critical of his performance. I don't think he kind of rose to the occasion when he started that game, and maybe it was right that he wasn't starting this game. And he comes off the bench, and concerned that was going to be called offside. Finally, one of the disallowed goals. Finally we see VAR actually work in Chelsea's favour, and it's ruled onside. And really big moment for him. I mean, a goal against Barcelona, yes, it's a third in a 3-0 win. Yes, it's a tap-in. It's not the most incredible individual goal. But for him as an individual, with the struggles he's had with injury so far this year, that's a huge moment for him as a Chelsea player. So I think you also have to credit that. Across the board tonight, you could not have asked for a better Chelsea performance. You could not have asked for a better series of events. Chelsea being just so dominant from the off the ball. The pressing structure was flawless, and I'm sure we'll look more of that kind of tactically as we usually do on the show. But full-time feelings, full-time emotion is the peak of when you want to be a Chelsea, when you're a Chelsea fan, and you want to see your team perform on these big occasions in this dominant a way. And we're quite lucky in 2025 that we have several of them. And we now move on to Sunday against Arsenal, which is, of course, a whole different kettle of fish in terms of them as a team. But I think I have confidence in his Chelsea team in big games. And even earlier this year, I was not that confident. But we have seen substantial, obvious, undeniable evidence that Enzo Maresca as a coach understands how to construct a plan for his players, for the opponent, that completely dismantles them. I mean, that is the thing with PSG and Barcelona. You could not get around it. Chelsea haven't just beaten these teams like, hitting them on the counter a couple of times. We have absolutely battered them. There's no getting around it. We have dismantled them. And when it happens once, people over the summer maybe would, scoff at it and say, oh, it's only the Club World Cup. I think now people have to rise and have to see this and take it seriously. And at the very least, what it shows is Chelsea have an absolute ability right now to compete on these biggest of occasions. And for the Champions League phase, after failing to beat Karabag, it's a huge win in that aspect for the points in the league phase. And we've got one more game before Christmas in the league phase before it returns in January. So a really, really great victory in that sense as well. So all round, man of the match. I mean, I could give man of the match to Enzo Maresca. I could give it to so many players tonight. Enzo Fernandez, I thought, was exceptional. I thought Trevor and Fofana were exceptional defensively. I thought Cucurella was exceptional. Shutting down a ridiculous talent like Lamine Yamal, jokes aside, is in itself amazing. Estevao as being such a young player and taking that burden of being the star player for his team right now. So yeah, I'll give it to you in the comments who you put as man of the match. Man of the match, Chelsea, absolutely battering Mesquite on Spotify tonight at the Bridge. It was like the old days, Chelsea absolutely getting the better and riling up Barcelona. You absolutely love to see it. So thank you for watching. Follow me across socials at SonOfChelsea, and I'll see you again very, very soon. All the best.